Hello, welcome. Welcome to Still Woke News. My name is Rain, and I thank you for being here. If you've watched any of the other videos or just some of the posts, I appreciate it very much. Okay, so uh, we have a lot to talk about. Um, Fridays are going to be more like my, kind of deep dive commentary, basically just simply due to my schedule of other projects. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. Of course, if you can see the title, I hope so. Um, ICE out of control. Uh, the government has basically abandoned us. I also wrote a post about this as well. So I want to, as timely, as quickly as possible, kind of get right to the point on this Friday. Um, I want to say happy birthday, MLK. Thank you for all that you did for us, my mother, my aunts, my uncles, who all of the people that participated, but there are some people that participated that, you know, uh, that were a part of my own bloodline and shared this information with me, shared what it looked like, what it felt like. And I think that as Generation X, I was very lucky for my mom and the work that she did, and that she also thought that it was super important that not only did she talk about it in detail, but she purchased tons of books, history books, encyclopedias, a lot of books geared towards that particular time, a lot of books geared towards the experience of the foundational Black American, which I read. So it was not a waste of money. So let's first of all, it's about Minneapolis, right? It's about Minneapolis, but it's bigger than that. And I think really that's kind of the theme of the show, is to help some people who think or wonder why I am so emotional and devoted to this ICE tyranny, this government tyranny, can't speak today, um, that is going on in the world, because I know that this has happened before. I know that we are cycling as humanity, and it disturbs me. It disturbs me. So let's talk about Minneapolis. Well, I have some notes here. So if you see me glancing, I'm very transparent. I'm trying to get everything in. So let's talk about a couple of things. Um, One of the main things that is on the minds of myself, people like myself who are very hurt by what we're seeing in America and by what we're seeing in the United States with this whole ICE agent situation. And again, I definitely like to note that we don't know who these people are. We don't. Every time I see a video of them harassing someone about their ID and the person is just walking to the store or driving to work or going to the doctor, I want to say, where's your ID? Seriously, where is your ID? Because we don't know who they are. We're only being told who they are. And so, you know, Renee Nicole Good, you know, and her, you know, I I I I'm so emotional about it, but Renee Nicole Good, right, and the circumstances around that particular murder, allegedly, is on the minds of a lot of people because unlike a lot of people, I knew this was only going to make that situation in Minneapolis worse. Why? Why? Did I have no hope that it would scare ICE, it would get someone's attention who can really do something about it? Is because once you show someone what they can get away with, they keep doing it. Okay. It's almost like within the scope of parenting. If my mother, grounded me for a particular thing, you're not going anywhere, you're staying home, you need to know that this was not the right way to respond, act, speak, whatever. I dealt with the consequences of that. Okay. But when there are no consequences, when the state government, the federal government has basically said that you don't have to worry about anything, right? We got you no matter what you do. And I'm going to say something, this is really my personal opinion, but also my personal witnessing of how the world works, how people function. I grew up in Philadelphia. And even though I grew up in a very lovely neighborhood, another part of my life where I was very lucky to not have been directly exposed to things. However, at the time when I was growing up, the mafia was huge, just like in New York. The mafia, ruled what streets, you could illegally park on. And we knew in Philadelphia that once we got on South Broad, like you can park anywhere because the police are either in cahoots, okay, with the mafia bosses, or they're too afraid to ticket a car because they don't know whose car it might be. So literally, if you go to Philadelphia, if you're on North Broad Street, you have to watch where you park or you will be towed. But once you hit South Broad Street, people are parked everywhere. They're double parked, they're triple parked, okay? And nobody's worried about a thing. It's just a Philly thing. We all know it. We all know it. Even though the mafia and their power, right, has lessened a whole lot since I was a kid. Many of them are in prison, right, paying for dealing with the consequences, right, of the years that they had so much power. But once you let people know what they can get away with, they're going to keep doing it and it's going to get worse. So I had no good news about that. Right? I had no good news about that. Why? Because there were no consequences. There were no consequences, you know. And I'm just going to say it like it is. To a lot of my brothers and sisters out there that are people of color, that are FBAs, foundational Black Americans, are sitting back and acting like it's okay. It's all right because it's always somebody else. First, we were concerned about the Latinx community, or not. There are people who weren't concerned because again, it wasn't them, right? But do you see how it's all of us? They're not missing anybody. I mean, one of the most recent, brutal attacks from ICE in Minneapolis was a family, uh, mother, father, the children, and a 6-month-old baby who were coming from a basketball game because one of the sons played basketball. They're driving from a basketball game. And this is what I found really interesting about this story, that I don't know if a lot of people really like picked it up. But fortunately, they're okay. However, the 6-month-old baby stopped breathing because ICE threw like some serious. I'm hearing that the gases that they're using are being pumped up like military type weapons. And so when they threw the gas in the car, it caused all the airbags to explode, right? Which we know people have had broken ribs and everything from just an airbag doing what an airbag does. But this is how strong this gas was. And so then it kind of pinned them in the car. Now, there were people around who helped them, kind of pried them out of the vehicle. And this woman who has her children she's worried about, you can look it up. There's a video about it, right? Family of 6 coming from basketball game, Minneapolis. And she realized, as people were trying to help them get out of the car so as to cause less harm than what was already caused, she realized that her 6-month-old baby had stopped breathing. And so she had to do CPR, right? And bring that breath back. She was guided, one of the news accounts said, by either someone who was able to call 911. And these were all probably protesters, because they said that they had driven into, this is what I'm saying that a lot of people might have missed. They said that she had driven, that she, her spouse, okay, had driven home, and they tried to go the normal way. And for some reason, they couldn't. There were like streets blocked off, like not construction or anything. There were streets that they normally used to get home. Those streets were blocked off. So they found themselves kind of like, okay, we can't go there. Let's take that street. And where they ended up was kind of like they were cornered between protesters and ICE going batshit crazy. Okay? ICE going batshit crazy. And somehow normal, regular traffic was somehow directed, and they were like kind of confused, as the mother was telling the story, because obviously if it wasn't confusing as to why the streets were blocked off, she would have said there was construction, there was this, there was that, and so we took another route. She did not say that. She said they were wondering why these streets were blocked off. So what do? We keep going when that happens, right? If we live in a city, okay, let's go this way. And they ended up really being cornered. Thankfully, the two of the children, one was a 6 month old baby, and there was another child whose age I'm not sure of, did have to still be hospitalized because the gas was out of this world. It was out of this world. Like she said, if she knew the pain and distress she was feeling as a grown woman, right? Something that where it's going to process differently depending upon, your build, and all of that. So she was thinking how bad it must have been for her children. No cause for the throwing of these military style gas bombs. They're just driving home from a basketball game. A black family. Okay. So I share that to say, if you think it's not going to come where you are, I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what you're thinking. I don't think that you really understand the agenda here. It sounded all good for those of you who voted for Trump, right? It sounded all good when they said, we're going to get some of these brown people from out of here. They're going to be the worst, he said. The worst of the worst. You know how he talks. I can't make that up. He repeats words as if it gives the words more power. He said they are after the worst of the worst. Yet, approximately about 90% or more, last I heard, of the people that are currently detained and or were detained and were able to leave had no criminal record and were United States citizens, whether they were born here or not. They were United States citizens. And then what? The other handful maybe are the worst of the worst, or just the worst. So, first of all, as with everything, you were told a lie. I was told a lie. I didn't believe it. But the fact is still that, hey, I'm a United States citizen, and I listened to it being said more than one time about the worst of the worst, and I didn't believe that. You see, they said that, and at first all you saw were members, families, workers of the Latinx community. And so then everybody started to chill, right? And I'm like, we're next. We're next. You know? And so they assassinated, allegedly, this particular ICE agent, a white woman. And they made it known. They made it known that she was a lesbian, right? The ICE agents. because there was a brave woman who is now back at home, but was telling the story of when she got picked up for no reason. And while she was sitting in the car, she said they called her ugly. Like they were just like, they were like teenage bullies, right? That actually sat in the car with her in the back, calling her names. And she said they mentioned Renee Good, right? Renee Nicole Good. And they said exactly this, she said. And they said, hey, you might want to stop obstructing justice because you see what happened to that lesbian bitch. Why are you obsessed with that? Number one, you're wrong, wrong, wrong. You are unlawful, unlawful, unlawful. You are criminals, criminals, criminals. You are breaking every single law. You are abusing and ignoring the entire Constitution. But why does it matter that she was a lesbian? She was a mother. She had a partner that loved her. She had a family. Her mother identified her. She had people. You know what I'm saying? How we say, hey, my people, I like to say my circle, because my circle includes some people that don't necessarily have my level of pigment, who've been good to me, and I try to be good to them. My circle includes quite a bit of people who we don't necessarily look alike. Right? But this woman had people like you had people. She had people like you had people. And she's gone. And so the reason why I mentioned the mafia is because when you shoot someone in the face, that is an assassination. That's not a defensive shot. He could have shot her wheel, and maybe her car would have gone maybe a little bit more out of control, but it would have stopped. When you shoot somebody in the face 2, 3 times, that is personal. That is personal. Okay? This was during the time when we would see this on the 6 o'clock news before dinner. They would show us, right? The person in the car. Well, the mafia found him. Right? So I just really want you guys to think about that. But it's interesting because today was interesting because I have a good sister, soul sister, right? In Brazil. I will not say her name. But she somehow felt the need, because we're both music lovers, passionate about music. So we send each other songs all the time. And she sent me Eric Clapton's Change the World, If We Could Change the World. And I hadn't heard it in so long. I love Eric Clapton. And so I left her a voice message, and she left me a voice message, right? To have a great day and to talk about the things she was hearing and seeing. And I'm like, girl, you better, any news you watch, you better run that through me. or any independent media. You know what I'm saying? Like, you run that through me because I'm your sister, I'm your friend, right? Run it through me because I'm going to tell you whether or not that is BS, or if there is any ring of truth to it. I'm going to tell you. But if it's a lie, I'm going to tell you it's a lie. And I told her that. Told her that. And so I said to her, Mr. Stevie Wonder, right? That legend has a new song that I think was released last year. And I mean, when I say that, I know that the year has just passed, but I played it for the first time probably in the summer of last year. And it's called Can We Fix Our Nation's Broken Heart? Can we fix our nation's broken heart? And it is classic Stevie. I have dogs. Sorry. Like I always say, it's real here. Okay, it's real here. There's no producer. I'm everything. Okay. Um, it's classic Stevie, meaning amazing lyrics, truthful storytelling, right? Hope, but also truth, and that amazing way he plays the harmonica. And I listened to it about 4 times today. And I listened to Eric Clapton about 3, 4 times today. And I just said, what is the answer to these questions? If I could change the world, if can we fix our nation's broken heart? And I was like this. I was like, Stevie, you've done a lot. Not just for our people, but you've done a lot. It is mainly because of Stevie we can say Happy Martin Luther King Day. Happy birthday, MLK. You know that? He worked for years to make that happen. After no, no, no. Right? But I had to shake my head and I was just like, you know, if Stevie was here, as a matter of fact, he's the one and only star I would love to sit down to dinner with and really talk. I'm having a hard time, Stevie. I can't say yes to that question. Can we fix our nation's broken heart? I can't. I can't say yes. Because America has shown me that there are a lot of things that I know. There are a lot of things that I have always known because I sought the history. Because we had like 3 pages in the history book in American history. They came, they were slaves, they were freed. So the history that I know, I had to seek it. Like an archaeologist seeks gems and stones and things of value. That's how I spent my life seeking my history. Still today, finding more and more lies, and then I'm like, you mean that was a lie too? Yeah, I really just couldn't. I said no, Stevie. I'm not sure. Right now, I'm saying no. Right now, I'm saying no. Because the thing that I knew was that this country was built upon the taking, the thievery, you see. Nobody asked anybody. Not the Dene, who you may know as the Navajo. They are the Dene. That's what they call themselves. The Cherokee Nation. Right? Nobody asked. Nobody asked. They just came and they took. And there's something in that. You know, my mother used to say, I don't trust a liar or a thief because they'll do anything. Yeah. So, yeah, this is where we are. But what I've been shown is that there is so much hate. There is so much hate, and I didn't know there was this much hate. There is so much hate in this country over melanin. I didn't know that it was this much, y'all. I didn't know. I didn't know. And I think that's why I'm so hurt, and I think that's why I'm so emotional about it, because I thought I knew. But this whole situation of the government abandoning us, they've abandoned us. They're not doing anything. And listen, I love listening to Jasmine Crockett. But Jasmine, and all the rest of your colleagues, all the rest of those people that you consider to be on your side, my dear, it's not enough. I don't know what you're doing, but whatever it is, it's not enough. I'm sorry. You know how they say sometimes when people divorce, they say, I loved her, but it just, love wasn't enough. That's how I'm feeling about Miss Crockett and all of those she considers to be on her side, on her wavelength, thinking the way she does. It's not enough. Sorry, but not sorry. So, peace, guys, because this will be like on Instagram. Well, it didn't do so bad uploading um the last one, the last longer one. It wasn't as bad as I thought. So look for me on Friday evening and any other evening that I do have time to sit down and relay. Relay. So thank y'all. See you next time.